What's going on, guys? Running it back with another replay for you. We've got a Warriors of Chaos versus Khorne showdown here on Edge of the Darkwood. And we've got a Skarbrand sighting in the wild. Skarbrand is a really cool lord. Struggles a little bit at times, I find, and we'll see how he does here. Falling Star is a really good player. She's definitely somebody you need to be careful of and not just take for granted as an opponent. Very skilled and very capable at just rolling over you, especially with Khorne being what they are. Very incredibly powerful faction. We've got lots of Marauders, we've got Skull Reapers, and, you know, Khorngor's out here on the flank, getting bullied a little bit by my Marauder Horseman Corps right now. Very cost-efficient target for the Javelins. They do pretty good damage already, even without Plague of Rust being active. And not having shields and only 60 armor, you know, we're going to feast here. We've got a decent little value lead right off the bat. I did miss a Searing Doom back here. I just thought that maybe I could catch Falling Star slipping a little bit. But, you know, pushing right through it, and the Marauder Horseman with throwing axes looking to get after my Javelins, but taking some fire in return. Definitely a good trade in my favor here. So I'm just going to shoot and take this opportunity to do as much damage as I possibly can. Getting some big value right now. About 400 up, and taking about 18 models off of the throwing axes, which is pretty huge. Very annoying unit to have to deal with. In the midst of all this skirmishing, summoning out some Blood Beasts, some Forsaken moving up with the Marauder, great weapons and my regular standard Marauders, while the Horse Masters securing the #1 and moving across to get involved in that fight over on the flank. Chaos Knights of Tzeentch keeping them back, just surveying the field a little bit to see what's what with them. And poking in on Skarbrand a little bit, taking about 700 HP off of him. Skarbrand does have a nice amount of armor, a little bit of Fizz Res, but any amount of HP you can chip off of him is a big win. He is incredibly dangerous, so respecting that is very important. And even if you can't get like an overwhelming amount of firepower on him, you know, using a couple volleys just to take that amount of HP off, pretty much always going to be worth it in my book. Horsemasters moving up, finally looking to fire their Javelins in. They've got a little extra range, it's worth noting, over the standard Javelin Horsemen, which is pretty nice. It makes them a lot more accurate. Just as stuff gets closer, generally your Javelins find a little bit more purchase on target. And these guys also hit a little bit harder, as well as firing quicker, maybe? Yeah, just a teeny bit faster, but it's the extra AP damage that's most notable from them. Mirror Guard, going to be taking this fight in the woods, getting very aggressive with them. There is an overwhelming amount of Khorne infantry here that can do pretty good work against them if they get surrounded. But we're going to keep our horsemen hovering around over here and not let that happen. Skarbrand moved away, which is why I felt comfortable continuing to push these guys up. Skarbrand looking to get into the fight on the middle objective, while Blood Beasts and the Chaos Knights flatten a Marauder, just completely delete them from the game, dropping a Searing Doom to assist my other Marauder unit. Really needing to try and hang on to the #2 objective here. I have been pushed off a little bit, and I'm not quite able to get my infantry onto the point before the flip comes in. Just barely hanging in the balance right now. Khorne does finally flip it. Skarbrand taking some Javelins, my Marauder Horsemasters, finishing off this throwing axe unit on the flank. Big damage on them, taking full effect here. And these guys will be routing in just a moment, while the Mirror Guard, unfortunately, chasing the Fleshhounds away, who did get microed back. Very good play from Falling Star, but I took a few models out. Took a little bit of HP off of them, and the Mirror Guard going to be getting into combat against these dual weapon Marauders now. Decent fight for them. They will take a decent chunk of damage here. The dual weapon Marauders are very good combatants. Even into armor, they can do okay. They will win that fight, and they will lose pretty decently, and leave the Mirror Guard pretty healthy. But Any amount of damage that they're trading is time that I'm not capping this number 3 objective here. I do flip the middle, but a Khorngor flank in the woods does take my number 1 objective away from me. Big loss on my end. Chaos Knights being buffered out by Skull Reapers, having a hard time getting into the backfield cleanly. Doing a little bit of damage to the Skull Reapers here in the middle. Dropping a big Plague of Rust on Skarbrand. Trying to kite back my entire army. Unfortunately, the Horsemasters do get caught, but they've done a pretty decent job so far already. And they are actually chipping down Skarbrand's HP pretty decently here. Being in contact with him like this means they have fully surrounded him. They are actually getting some good damage in there with their melee attacks even. So, at least paying for themselves here. Hellstrider's coming out and running over the last of these horsemen, and probably going to be moving up to secure that number 3 objective there. Chaos Knights do get on top of the throwing axes. Very nice for me. Pushing those guys back, buffering them out and away from my Blood Beasts. And a full commit from the number 1 objective. Not going to be using any infantry to hold that. Trying to even up the value here is Falling Star. Khorngors do push off of that objective and are going to be going up to the middle, bringing out from some Forsaken, who you can see I am sending off to the number 1 to recap there. Marauder Great Weapons looking to do some good damage, while the Horseman Corps pin-cushioning these Skull Reapers, who are trying to push through into the backfield, which is a pretty good situation for me, honestly, because these guys are already pretty vulnerable to missiles because they're low armor, also not having shields, and not really having any pieces out here to buffer for them. Horsemasters do get caught by the Fleshhounds, but they'll be able to withstand that fight a little bit better, and I'm just going to collapse here and break the leadership of the Hounds as quickly as possible so I can get all of my Javelins freed and secured away from any harass so that they can get some shots on target. Nice Searing Doom coming in here. Searing Doom is a great spell. Even against the heavy spell resistance that Khorne has, it's going to do some pretty good work and pounds those Skull Reapers. While Sartorial is going to land here and try and beat up on these Khorngors. Their ability, Fury of the Skull Throne, does pop there. I'm going to keep them a little bit healthier. And some Khorngors do move out to the number 3, where the Mirror Guard looking to chill and get some good work done here. They do charge in against the last of these dual weapon Marauders. Going to be chipping those guys down before getting engaged with those Khorngors, which will be a pretty decent fight for the Mirror Guard, even though they are down to about half their HP. They will be able to beat that Khorngor in full with enough time, of course. Another Relentless Rage being popped here, or, sorry, Rage Embodied being used there by Skarbrand, and does trap a lot of my Marauders into combat, but most of them are out of ammo. Only the Horsemasters have any left. They've paid for themselves, which is great for me. The Marauder Horsemen have all done really well here. They've all gotten either their full value or a little bit extra back. I'm flooding the field with Forsaken. Forsaken are really good on the Warriors of Chaos, especially after the HP buff. Just really good DPS infantry, and for the Khorne matchup especially, they're great. They're pretty good into Fleshhounds, they're good against Furies, they're decent into Skull Reapers, and some of the other units like Khorngors. Really not anywhere that you can go horrendously wrong with them. Sartorial dropping down, does get a few blows in on Skarbrand, but needs to push out. There is a nice Horn of Khorne going down here that's giving a big buff to damage potential for these Khornate units here. But it will be wearing off in a moment, and Skarbrand has taken a ton of damage from this fight. Sartorial got in and got a few drumsticks on him. And then also, the last few shots from my Horsemen doing some good work. Unsummoning my big Horseman blob. They're not very good in melee combat, unlike Khorne Horsemen, who are worth keeping around. I am going to pull them back, and I am going to be summoning out some units with my huge supply bank of 2,100 right now. Just hanging onto it for a bit, looking for the right answers in my reinforcement pool. I'm in an okay position on the battlefield. I've recapped the number 1. Mirror Guard are grinding a lot of value out on the side objective. I have lost my Chaos Knights of Tzeentch. They did get 1100 value, fortunately. Fighting the Fleshhounds, they did get ripped apart by the Khorngors, which sucks, but Skarbrand is pushed off, and Sartorial with the Terror Routes in the late game, Rock of Inevitability, and the remaining magic that he does have, is definitely going to be a big X factor for me. He is an excellent lord in the later stages of the game against Khorne. Khorne really struggles once their frenzy starts to wear down in the late game. Soul of Damnation comes out, gets a great first shot off, and then a beautiful Searing Doom over the top of that. Breaks not just the Skull Reapers, but also the Khorngors here get terrified. Their leadership tanks from all of the leadership malices here. Attacked in the rear, friends routing, attacked by artillery. You can see all of those malices lowering their leadership enough for them to actually get hit by the Terror Route, and then they proper route with the Forsaken following up on them. Definitely a great situation for me. Going to be able to chew through a lot of value on these routing units, which is going to leave me in a very favorable position on the number 2 objective, which I am capping up now. Some more Hellstriders coming out. Marauder Great Weapons advancing up the field. And these last tattered Hellstriders just chasing back the throwing axes. I really don't want to leave to be supporting this fight here on the flank. Chasing down the last of the Khorngors here. They were at about half health as I started chasing them. Another reason why the Forsaken are so nice in this matchup. They are equally as quick as Khorngors. In fact, a little faster here just because Primal Fury is worn off as well as being very tired. So Forsaken getting a pretty nice little advantage there. A lot of their value has come from chasing that Khorngor unit down and being able to do all that damage to them while they're routing has been a big value swing for me. Plague of Rust hitting this Khorngor. The Fleshhounds do crumble out. These Skull Reapers are still routing. Really nice timing on that Searing Doom. Gets a bunch of damage on these Khorngors, and the Forsaken peel off so that they can go and finish these guys proper good. Mirror Guard get just about their value back. 160 kills, though, and they've locked down a lot of attention on this number 3 objective this whole game. Recapping the number 2, capping the number 1. Hanging on for dear life here. Soul of Damnation moving forward, looking to get some fat shots off. Does hit the Marauder Horseman of Khorne with the throwing axes there, gets some good damage. Skarbrand in a very vulnerable spot here. Sartorial lands with the Rock of Inevitability and is going to start whooping on Skarbrand here. He's only got the 22 melee defense. Forsaken underfoot, and he is going to crumble out here. Very bad situation for Falling Star now. Losing the Lord is Khorne. Never a comfortable position to be in. That is a big leadership malice that you're going to be suffering from. You can see there, Lord recently died. Minus 16 immediately puts the Marauder Horseman with throwing axes down to about crumbling and even just about taking their frenzy offline instantly. Just a little bit of damage, and they're going to be much less effective in combat, and there's quite a few of them out here. There's 2 of them. Very expensive pieces, honestly. They really need that frenzy to perform here. Being chased down by Hellstriders who do break these Khorngors. These are the Khorngors that those Forsaken were chasing for so long, and them being put into this tattered state definitely helped for the break here now that the Lord's gone down. You can see there they are rallying their leadership a little bit, and it's pretty much saved this Hellstrider unit from getting completely mulched and giving them the opportunity to get on this throwing axe unit, which is routing now. Beautiful stuff for me. Very unfortunate for Falling Star. Going to be using the Hellstriders to chase off here. The Furies did come out to threaten getting on top of the Soul of Damnation, but some Forsaken sitting on top of them. Going to make this a very safe artillery piece. Forsaken, very good at ripping apart Furies, as I mentioned earlier. And they'll just be able to buffer those guys out. The artillery crew is very hard to kill. They are unbreakable. They've got a decent chunk of HP on the crew as well. So very, very safe, in my opinion, right now. Last of these Forsaken charging in. Going to get just a little bit more damage on top of the Khorngors and the throwing axes. Throwing axes, as you saw, took big damage from the Searing Doom there. Last of those, just about, I think I have one more in the bank. Sartorial has been doing good work for me. buffering a lot of infantry off of the middle point with my tattered forces. This is the best use of tattered infantry that you can, use. Utilize them to block up enemy reinforcements that are much healthier. The great weapons are hanging in here against the dual weapons. Dual weapons winning that fight pretty capably. Of course, very uneven trade on my end, but I had to commit somewhere. I had to do something to stop these guys from just capping the point. The Forsaken took a bunch of damage from throwing axes. They did get into combat with those Marauders and are losing, but they've stopped up a lot of cap weight, and the Soul of Damnation has moved up enough that it's got its sights set on all of these advancing units. One last Searing Doom coming down. Sartorial lands in this melee brawl here, terrifying the Khorngors, flattening the Furies with the assistance of the Chaos Knights, who have come back out and are doing really good work. And unfortunately for Falling Star, the Searing Doom does break the leadership of the Horsemen here, and Hellstrider's going to be following that up. Middle objective looking very flimsy. No cap weight here for me. Hellstrider's moving across the field trying to stop this attempted bat cap. I did see these Marauders moving up through the trees. Very threatening. Really can't let my opponent cap any of these objectives away from me, really. Working on taking the number 3 here. Getting big damage with the Soul of Damnation. Marauders do move up onto this point, slowing down the cap for just a little bit here, which can make all the difference in a beautiful shot from the Soul of Damnation. Not killing any of my own units and taking out a decent chunk of the Marauders' HP and breaking their leadership. Sartorial moving across, looking to get after the other dual weapon unit with the assistance of the Marauders. And we are reflipping the number 2. Despite losing it there, we should be able to get it back pretty quickly. Hellstriders, big value on them. Working down these Fleshhounds with the Chaos Knights looking to follow up. Gonna hammer home here against those Hounds. Crushing them on the charge. Did not cap the number 3, which is a big, feels bad moment for me. But we are getting some Horsemen and Hellstriders onto the number 1 just to hang on to this point. That cap weight should be enough until the Mirror Guard gets up there, who should be able to keep that on lock the rest of the game, no matter how long it might end up going here. Fleshhounds get flattened on the charge by the Knights, but Minotaurs are coming into play here. Definitely going to need to kite back and away from those. The last of the Hellstriders threaten to charge, but the Minotaurs and the throwing axes do break their leadership before anything is going to be happening there. Just trying to run away, take a little bit of damage on my forces here. Soul of Damnation firing in at the Minotaurs gets a nice little bit of damage in on those guys, and this thing has really helped swing this middle fight. I only have one Marauder unit here, but this one Marauder with the fire support from the Soul of Damnation has broken all 3 of the Marauder units that were moving up to it. Big performance here from the Soul. Despite not having a ton of value, breaking all of these cap weight units has been pretty critical for me. I mean, this is giving me the number 2 objective back. Definitely going to keep me in play for the rest of this game. Am going to take the number 3 objective here just barely before the Minotaurs and the Horsemen get here. Huge force moving up as well. And the Soul of Damnation dropping some shots, getting some damage on these Minotaurs, trying to collapse this pocket here. Sartorial is going to be flying in, doing his best to make this play work. And the Chaos Knights do get into combat here against the Minotaurs. I pop the Rock of Inevitability, lowering the melee defense down to 1 on the Minotaurs, and the Chaos Knights, despite not being amazing against armor, should be able to win this combat pretty handily. They are running over these guys, getting onto the rear, and do break their leadership real fast thanks to the leadership malices. Very unfortunate for Falling Star. Losing this Minotaur unit, you can see damage by artillery. Lord is dead, attacked in the rear, damage sustained, just a little too much for those guys. And the Marauder force out here, not able to swing this objective. Before the Mirror Guard get over, the Horsemen and the Hellstriders did a great job of holding that down. Moving the Forsaken up to the middle objective, but that's going to be game. Falling Star throws in the towel after losing the Minotaurs here. Khorngors and the Marauders, with some Horsemen support, probably would have flipped this objective eventually, but it would have been a tall order for them. It would have taken time. and I would have been able to sit very comfortably, just holding that as long as I possibly could, while the triple cap went into full effect, and I won on tickets there at the end. Really well played by Falling Star, though. Amazing game. Razor close from start to finish. And Sartorial, man, I'm telling you, big chicken, big value. He only got 2,100 here, but that's not fully reflective of the value Plague of Rust handed to me. Lots of good uses out of that, definitely helping the performance against Skarbrand from the Horsemen, helping against the Skull Reapers with the Forsaken chewing on them. You can see the Forsaken did alright. They didn't all quite pay for themselves, and a couple did come out 2 times. But they did get pretty decent kill values, which can make all the difference in a fight, even if the value isn't fully reflective of what they've done on the field. Chaos Knights were very clutch. They were doing good work. And yeah, that early Horseman core getting me some good early value was pretty substantial, with the Soul of Damnation providing that last little bit there at the end, and Sartorial just terror-rounding a lot of the Cornate infantry in the mid-game. Was all the advantage that I needed to carry myself into the final stages, where I secured the triple cap and just put a final little exclamation point on this game here. But as I said, great match. I think Skarbrand's a little out of place here. 69 kills, 1,300 value, very funny, very nice. But yeah, Valkia or Skulltaker. Skulltaker probably better against Warriors of Chaos. Impossible to snipe, and very powerful against infantry forces. Sartorial is pretty good against Skulltaker, I guess, but, you know, I think Skarbrand is good in a handful of matchups. I don't think Warriors of Chaos is one of them. Too vulnerable to missile poke, and that's where a lot of the value from my throwing horsemen came from, and just grinding out the melee forces and killing the leadership was the final straw that broke the camel's back for Khorne here. But I think that's going to be enough for me here. Don't want to ramble on too long after the game is over. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll catch y'all around next time. GG's. Peace.